Hello and welcome to the Record Club, brought to you by Record Store Day, the official charts and National Album Day, and proudly in association with Bowers and Wilkins. My name is Jess Iszatt. Thank you very much for joining us. We are very excited to say that our guest this evening is Paloma Faith to talk all about her brand new album, Infinite Things. If you're new to the Record Club, we're going to be spending the next half an hour talking to Paloma all about her brilliant new record, and then we'll be putting your questions about the album forward for her to answer. So, if there is anything you'd like to know about the new record, whether it be about a certain song, the artwork, or a particular lyric that you've enjoyed, you're going to have to pop a question into the comments section below because we're going to be asking a selection of them in the second half of our chat. And of course, one lucky person who sends in a question today will be randomly selected to win a pair of Bowers and Wilkins PX7 over-ear noise cancelling headphones, which I am modelling right now. I've actually got some new grey ones as well, so that you them a bit better. Definitely a wicked early Christmas present for you to get your hands on. I also have the record with me right now. Very excited to show it to you. Most independent record shops throughout the UK are now open again. So if you want to check in on your local store before you head out into the cold, use the store finder on Record Store Day UK's website to find their contact details. So I want to jump straight in now for this week's Record Club with the wonderful Paloma Faith. Welcome.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to see you. I think I love how your top and headphones match.
Oh yeah, well, these are brand new. I did it on purpose for Bowers and Wilkins, but yeah, of course. Remember, if you've got any questions for Paloma, put your questions in the comments below, and we'll get to them. But I get to go first, which is very exciting. Yeah, Paloma, thank you so much for joining us. Your fifth studio album. How does it feel to be out in the world?
It's a strange time. It feels good to have be the first album I've engineered myself. Because of COVID lockdown, I sort of taught myself how to use Logic, which is one of the production programs that you can use, and it turned out it wasn't that hard. And I actually feel like it's my personal favourite album I've made because of that, because I feel so close to it. But it's a hard time to put music out. It's sort of a very unstable time for a lot of people, and their priority isn't buying albums. It's like food on the table, basically. And I understand that. So it's a weird time, but it does feel good to do something, hopefully, that's like either moving or uplifting or takes people's minds off the reality that they're living at the moment. And it's just very weird not to see people and be actually close to them. This is like the future, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I can understand why you'd say that you'd feel a lot closer to it, considering that you decided to produce yourself. How come it wasn't something that you decided to do earlier? Is lockdown was it an opportunity for you to really sit down and get into it?
I just never really needed to, so I didn't. And the outcome has been that I actually think it sounds better. Like, my vocal performance is better because I know what I'm capable of, and I was happy to make mistakes because I could just delete them because I was in control of it. So usually when you've got an engineer, you sort of make mistakes and they keep everything, and you're like, oh. And also, a producer doesn't always know exactly what you want to sound like and stuff. So yeah, I agree with you. Why haven't I done it before? But it's definitely something that I intend to keep doing. I told my label already I don't really want to go to a studio again.
Is it that you've got your studio set up downstairs in your basement now?
Yeah, it's just in the basement and it's really no frills. It's actually a bit sort of shoddy down there, but I feel like that adds to it.
A bit of grit to add to the album. Well, I also heard that you kind of redid the album when the world went into meltdown, and you decided to change up some of the songs that were on there.
Yeah, I did, because I felt like some of them were a bit sort of optimistic and a bit might sound a bit patronising given the circumstances. I found them a bit offensive listening back to them. I was like, it was
Oh,
like a
God.
toddler going, nah, 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 nah. So, yeah, it didn't feel right. But I also felt a really huge surge of creativity in the lockdown, because it's very rare in my life that I've had time to just reflect and pause and not be so frenetic. And I feel like that really suited the creative process. Like I got really introspective, and ideas were sort of flooding in. I wasn't having to look for them. I feel like in previous albums, I've been constantly like anxious and worried. Like, I need to go to the cinema. I need to read 5 books. I need to do this. I need to like write stuff down. And with this, it was just like very calming, and just like it was all coming to me.
What were your favorite kind of themes to explore for this album? Because I know that you mentioned previously that it's more of a social commentary. What were the main themes for you?
Social commentary was for the Architect album, not this one.
Oh,
But, so Infinite Things was actually more the opposite of a social commentary. It was
I was going to say there was lots of love explored, and I didn't really understand how that was a thing. Sorry, I've just
wrong
got some of my
album.
notes mixed up.
The Architect too, people who are watching. But yeah, but yeah, so it was more. It's much more introspective, much more personal. The themes that I address in it are mainly about what was in front of me in lockdown, which was basically my family. So family members, my child, motherhood, and my relationship, which is because I had a lot of chats with the label and stuff, and everyone was like, "Oh, you know, people love you singing about love." And I was like, "How am I going to do that? Because I'm in a long-term relationship." Oh, yeah, I do love the person I'm with. So I was like, I need to write a different type of love song, which is about the bit in between meeting and breaking up, which is a common theme in music. Both those two themes are the most common, I think.
Mm.
So I decided to write about the bit in between, which was about the enduring love part.
Did you come out with any tips, do you think, for people who were trying to keep the spark alive?
I just think it's all about being true and honest. There's a song on there called If Loving You Was Easy that my partner can't not cry to, because it really hits home about what it is to be with someone for the long term. And I think when you have a kid with someone, that automatically ends up being what you decide to do, at least try to. And so that song in particular is about how sometimes you just like despair of the relationship, but you keep coming back to them because you've chosen to be with them, and you still choose them every day. And I think, you know, in the lyrics I say, I choose you, don't look so sad and confused. I think that that comes from the fact that I always said that I wouldn't marry him, because I wanted him to know that when I came home every day, that it was my choice, not an obligation. And every time I come in and I open the door and say hello, it should make him feel content and sure that that was my choice, and I did it because I wanted to, not because I had to.
Yeah, I feel like this is definitely such a much more modern take on love as well. So I feel that. Um, Me Time, I think, is maybe probably my favorite. It's the one that I've been like dancing out to in my room. Um, how has the response been to the album generally? Have there been any sort of fan favorites or surprising fan favorites?
I feel like the 3 favourites that stand out from my core fan base is If Loving You Is Easy, If This Is Goodbye, and Monster. Um, I really like Me Time too. I think it's very appropriate to the pandemic, because that's what everyone felt like, and people were locked down with like in various configurations. And I feel like we realised quickly, like so for example, one of the themes that I've addressed because of the pandemic is like that when you say to someone, oh, I want to be with you, or in sickness and in health, or whatever, or you make that commitment, you don't mean I want to see you and only you all day, every day. You mean I want to come home to you when I've lived my life and had a really eclectic, diverse day full of influence from the outside world. You don't go, I mean, being locked down with people you love is hard, and it was hard. Still is hard because I'm pregnant, so I can't really go anywhere either. It's just like I feel like the relationship thrives on going out and having a different day and then coming back and telling each other stories, and that's not possible right now.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously I've got the, like I showed before, I'm showing off my album that I've got. And I noticed on the inside sleeve there's a statement, and at first I kind of read it as kind of quite melancholic, a little bit sad, and you are apologetic. The final line saying, "Things we count on are love and hurt. For this, I'm sorry. This is for you." And is this addressed? Is this from you to everyone who's getting it, or is this addressed to your children, or who is it for?
What, that note?
The note, the statement that's on the inside sleeve here.
But I did write it to be to my child that exists already. This one obviously exists, but I haven't met it yet. But yeah, it was for my daughter, that message.
I think
Because the song Infinite Things is for and about her. So the album's titled with the song that I wrote about her. And then I just, every time I write now, it's almost like I'm writing to teach her about life. So the first album I wrote when she was born was The Architect, and that's why it was social commentary. And then this one is about relationships, and it's about a truthful account of what she should expect and not expect. I don't really feel like any sentimentality or expectation of like the nuclear family did me any favors growing up. So I want her to know about what it's like, and that it's difficult, and that parenthood's difficult, and that life's difficult, but there are great moments also.
And I also am really, really obsessed with Christmas Prayer. I've definitely been singing that one quite badly as well. I love the tune. I love Gregory Porter as well. And of course, Love Yourself. So what a combo. How is it writing a Christmas tune? Like, is that harder than normal?
Actually, I can't take too much credit for that because the other writers on that song did all the work. So I just was like, I really love that and I want to sing it. So it was quite easy for me. I was trying to write a Christmas song for ages, but yes, you're right, it's very difficult. But there's another artist who wrote on it called Sinead Hartnett.
Oh,
Who,
I love Sinead.
yeah, so she wrote most of that. So she's quite amazing. And I really love working with other women in the industry and celebrating them and their talent. So I was really happy to. I was honoured to have one of her songs.
Absolutely, yeah. I feel like that's going to be a Christmas banger this year as well, especially with the session you just did, and I was watching it and it just seemed like the best thing ever. Um, and speaking of your visuals as well, so the video for Gold is obviously so vibrant, and it's just reflecting things in Hackney and how everything is there. The talk of community is amazing and really something for people to latch onto right now. Are there more visuals that are coming on the way for the album?
Yeah, there will be. I haven't made them yet because I'm planning on giving birth to this child first. I didn't want to just be like. Otherwise, my only options were like Christmas pudding or.
Um,
Great, but I yeah, I've there definitely will be. I'm like obsessed by visuals, as you know, because I'm really pleased actually, particularly with all of the visual content that goes along with this album. And I worked quite closely with creative director called Theo Adams that I've known for years, who's basically weirdly like he's inside my head. And I've never had a creative director before. I've always done it all myself. But this time I was like, I want to sort of be challenged to do something that's a bit different to what I normally do. And you don't really do that if you keep, because you tend to like get into creative habits yourself.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I work with him and we literally just agree on everything. It's like half the time he's just saying what I've already thought before I've said it.
Honestly, I was going to say, being pregnant doesn't seem to have slowed you down in the slightest. I didn't want to, I feel like all your interviews you've had to kind of talk about it loads, so I didn't want to like bang on, but I will say I think it's been incredible, like the amount of stuff that you've been doing, and been able to fit in around it. I just think it's pretty iconic. And I will say that 2 Christmases ago, I went dressed up as an inflatable turkey. So there is also that for fancy dress.
As an option.
Yeah, as an option for some sort of visuals. I don't know if that's happening for this Christmas, but you know how it goes. Just a quick reminder for anyone who's watching, of course, your questions can also be asked to Paloma. You need to get involved in the comments. And also, if you get your question answered, you may win a pair of Bowers and Wilkins headphones. And I will say, everything is sounding delightful in them. So has there been a highlight for you, Paloma, over producing this record and then getting it out? And actually, speaking of the pregnancy, a lot of artists like to compare releasing an album a bit like giving birth to a child. And I feel like because you've got them kind of at the same time, maybe you can give us like a real comparison for us.
No, it isn't, because giving birth to an actual child is the most painful thing you can ever experience in your life, and so this isn't painful, and also you can't choose what you give birth to, whereas this I made and I handcrafted and I made choices. So yeah, it's not.
Next time an artist does that and compares it like their baby, I'll just be like, actually, I spoke to Paloma about this,
And
and
it's not going to keep them up like all night for the next 3 years, and then they're going to have to pretend that they're okay the whole time. That's what happened to them.
yeah, I'm gonna let them know. I'm so excited. I can see that lots of people are getting involved in the questions, but I've got one more. Are you looking forward to tour next year? And I guess you'll have 2 babies with you then, or 2 children with you then.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I feel like that's been the thing I've missed the most in this pandemic, and I feel really bereft of it, and I'm remorseful as well, because my crew and my band, obviously, like a lot of these musicians in the industry, suffered the most, because they were like kind of not able to claim any help or funding anywhere. So I'm just so relieved that I can give some work to some people, and I'm very optimistic that it's going to go ahead, and by September 2021 we'll all be able to go out. I'm just excited and I can't wait, basically, because it's the only reason why I do this job. If music was just recording studio albums, I don't think it would be for me. I like to be on stage.
We like seeing you up there as well, so that's good. And one of my friends who I play hockey with actually has got tickets to 2 of your dates as well, so she's also very excited. Poppy's very excited to see you with both of her parents separately, so there we go. Right, I can see lots of people getting involved. Karen Torres on Paloma's page says, dearest Paloma, please explain the meaning of Monster.
Monster's a song that I wrote as a reaction to the fact that, hi Karen, by the way, she's a long-standing fan. It's a song that I wrote that was about a reaction to coming into the music industry, being a different type of person, I was like not really materialistic. I was an arty, like I was just out of art school, quite experimental, and I think that my priorities were very different. I had nothing and I didn't expect to get anything. And so there was a sort of freedom and liberation in that. And then over time, gradually, through like having more and more success, generating an income, and eventually buying a home for myself, I feel like it's that coinciding with the way that the British media treats people in the public eye. Like 1 minute you can be really, really celebrated and lauded up, and the next minute you're like scum of the earth, or they do a headline that just interprets something you said completely wrong, and then that can, and it's sort of almost always without any consideration for how that might affect your personal life or your relationship with your family or whatever. And so it sort of generates anxiety, and then you basically become someone sometimes that you don't recognize. Like I've always naturally sort of wanted to be nice to everyone and stuff, and not been interested in like financial gain and all that stuff. But now I'm a monster, so that's what the song's about. It's like how it sort of Frankensteined me into this different person that's like been molded by all those experiences.
Yeah, I've also been singing that one out loud in my bedroom. I'm like, I'm a monster. Yeah. Yeah, not as well as you though.
It could be about
Gustavo.
being in a relationship. Like sometimes when you're in a relationship with someone and then you don't recognize yourself and you behave in a way that you're like, who is this person? That also feeds into that.
Oh yeah, I've definitely done that to my mum when she's asked me to, or I've lost my temper with her, which is not good. I'm just like, oh God, I'm just a little monster, aren't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Gustavo Santos on the Record Club says, which song was the first to be recorded?
The first one on this record, I think, was I Die For You, which is a song about my sister. And I went to New York to work with Patrick Wimberley, and he produced the big Solange album. And he also worked with me on the title track Infinite Things. But I Die For You was one of the very few ones that I recorded a while back and kept it like pre-lockdown.
Hmm. Were the songs that you changed from the pre-lockdown version, are they kept somewhere? Do you think they're still gonna be able to be released in the world eventually?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, good. That's exciting. That's exciting for next year as well. Or hopefully at some point. Alison Christine Stevens on Paloma's page says, what is your personal favourite song from the new album?
It's If This Is Goodbye, because I feel most emotionally connected to it. It's about a very dear friend of mine who was diagnosed with a terminal illness, and it's about that feeling of like the preciousness of every time I see him, it might be the last.
Mm.
And it's sort of like this overwhelming feeling of like love and loss and all of that. And I wrote about him on a couple of songs on the record, but that one I think the one that's the most raw.
Definitely. Gary on Record Store Days page says, you're very much an albums artist. Is it still important to you to make a body of work? Many artists tend to create more singles for playlisting nowadays.
I don't know how to write singles, I'll be honest. And I feel that for me, to be authentic, I need to just stick to who I am and what I do, and eventually that will probably come back round again. So I'm just going to continue to make albums because I don't like people listening to just random one-off songs out of context. I feel like it needs to tell a story and take you on a journey. And that's how I consume music. Call me old-fashioned.
Hey, we completely agree with you here on the Record Club. Got to say hello to Patrick Weiser on Paloma's page. Says, hello, Jess and Paloma. Paloma, was it your intention to make the album sound so retro? It's brilliant. It's just beautiful, a beautiful record with amazing songs. Beautiful and damned, supernatural, and if this is goodbye. And the retro sound works so well with the black and white aesthetics.
Thank you. It's funny because to me this is my most contemporary record. So this was me being modern. No, is the answer. I thought I was being contemporary.
I think some of the photos are very edgy as well, but I get what he means by the retro sound, definitely.
Quite
I saw the behind the scenes video for the shoot that you did for this, and I thought it looked like so much fun as well.
Yeah, it was a brilliant team.
Dan Moran on Paloma's page says, hi Paloma, if this is goodbye is heartbreakingly beautiful and love it. Can you talk about the writing process and story behind the song?
Well, I've already touched on the story in my chat, but the writing process was that I have a long-term collaborator called Ed Harcourt that I've worked with on most of my albums. And I called him and I sort of was in bits about this friend of mine that I told you about. And I said, like, I need to write a song, but it needs to be really, it needs to be like, it needs to honour him and how much, and my feelings for him, and not sort of be flippant or throwaway or not very good. And I was like, I feel like I want something, a piece of music that's emotive as a standalone thing and touches a bit on the style of Michael Nyman, who's a classical composer, piano player, did a lot of film soundtracks. But what he does is this sort of wave-like type of music where it repeats and repeats and repeats and repeats over and over again until you're like in this sort of hypnotic state. And so, and I feel like that's what life is like a repetition over and over again, and then there are blips. So I wanted it to be like that. Anyway, he took some time, and I kept chasing and saying, "Where is it? Where is it?" He's like, "I'm nothing coming that's good enough yet." And then eventually he sent me this piece of music that is the piece of music I wrote the song over. And I was just sitting there crying at just the piano on its own in my studio basement, ramshackle, whatever, dump. And I was just like in the very low light, just on my own, crying. And he sent me a text just saying, please take your time on this, don't rush it. And I did. And I wrote and rewrote and erased, and it felt very pure, but it felt very conscious because it needed to be. I didn't want to like write a song about something I was feeling so fully and overwhelmed by and it not do it justice. So I took about 2 weeks going back to it every evening after my daughter went to sleep. And usually I take a day to write a song just to give you context. So I went back like every day for a couple of weeks until I felt I'd got something, and I sent it to Ed, and then he was bawling, and we were both like, "Yeah, this is it."
Oh, it feels like such a shame that you weren't able to have, I guess, these moments on stage to kind of have almost a public outlet for it. But at the same time, tour next year, it will be amazing. One more, Noemi Mangialardi on Paloma's page. If you could choose a song from this album and sing it with someone, who would that person be, and which song would you choose?
That's quite a hard one. But maybe Cyndi Lauper, and I'd sing Supernatural.
Yes, that would be amazing. Oh my God, that would be amazing. Let's put that out into the atmosphere and make it happen. Oh, well, Paloma, thank you so much for joining us. That is all we have time for today. And of course, thank you so much for people getting in their questions. If you haven't already got yourself a copy of Paloma Faith Infinite Things, we absolutely recommend you order one from your local record shop. I'm also excited to announce that the winner of this week's Bowers and Wilkins PX7 wireless headphones prize is, drumroll, we have Alison Christine Stevens on Paloma's page. So make sure to have your DMs open, and someone from the team will be in touch, and you can have these lovely earphones to listen to your Paloma record in. Huge love and thank you as always for joining us. And thank you so much, Paloma. It's been incredible. Join us again next week, Wednesday, the 16th of December. It is our last record club before Christmas, so make sure to tune in. And our next guest is Sophie Ellis-Bextor. So yeah, make sure to join us next Wednesday. My name is Jess Iszatt. Thank you again to Paloma for joining us, and I will see you all next time.